Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So last night we had yet another banger in the Stanley Cup final. Florida win up 3-0 in the first period. Then the Edmonton Oilers tied it up in the second. Jake Wallman goal to make it 4-3. Sam Reinhart to send it into overtime. And Leon Draisaitl played hero yet again. The series has been absolutely bonkers. And I decided now that we're tied up at 2-2, I'm going to just talk about the game and I'm going to react to your takes. Basically, you guys sent in some takes, whether it's about the individual teams, what they've been doing really good in the series, certain players that are balling out, or certain players that need to play far better. And we're going to go through it. We're just going to talk about this because, yeah, it has been an awesome Cup final. Let's get right into it. And up first from Judah, this is the greatest Stanley Cup final I've ever seen, and I would have to wholeheartedly agree. When looking at last year's Cup final, I'm not sure even if we have a Game 7 in this Cup final that it'll eclipse the anticipation for that, considering the fact that we had a potential blown 3-0 lead. But when looking at the actual games of this year's Cup final compared to last year, there were like two good games in the first six, and like two or three of them were just absolute blowouts. This Cup final has delivered just next level. When looking at other potential best ones of my lifetime, you think because the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues went to 7, but I just don't think that compares to this, considering the star power, these two teams, the caliber of which we have seen in their best players rising in the biggest moments. When looking at guys like Leon Draisaitl and Brad Marchand winning it for their respective teams, it has been absolutely awesome. And I think that a point that I saw on Twitter, this might be the greatest NHL hockey season of all time, when looking at stuff like this Stanley Cup final, the Ovechkin race, the Four Nations, the United States winning both the World Juniors men's and women's championships, as well as my New York Islanders getting the first overall pick. I cannot think of a hockey season that has been more chaotic than this one. It has been fantastic. Yes, maybe the TV ratings aren't amazing this year, but I don't give a shit. I think that this year is going to be viewed as one of the best years in hockey history in our lifetime, and will help the game grow more, even if the TV ratings aren't fantastic right now. But let's really start talking about the actual game itself. From Fagia Adam, Stuart Skinner. It's not Stuart Skinner's fault. And when looking at it, I agree in that game. In that game 4, it was not really any of the goals kind of on Stuart Skinner. The first goal being a Matthew Tkachuk 5-on-3 goal when RNH and Bouchard kind of were both blocking Skinner, and Matthew Tkachuk was just able to rip it home. The second goal, Reinhart got the puck in the middle of the ice on the power play. Once he gets the puck there, it seems like the Florida Panthers always score. He got it from Tkachuk, then shot, then Tkachuk just cleaned up a rebound. Kasperi Kapanen was doing absolutely nothing on that play. And then the final one, Troy Stecher just has a horrible play on the puck, trying to pass it to Darnell Nurse. Carter Verhaeghe absolutely bodies him and then passes it right in front to Anton Lundell. So Stuart Skinner, he got a rough shake. Prior playoff performances where he's been bad, it has been more so on him. But Chris Knoblauch had to do something in terms of shifting the momentum. And it's not like a Dallas situation where Casey DeSmith was coming off completely cold. No, like Pickard has been good in his own right, so it made sense. And obviously it ended up working for the Edmonton Oilers. So although I don't blame Stuart Skinner for going down 3-0, I think going forward, as the next one says, Pickard should start in Game 5. An interesting stat that I found: Calvin Pickard has put up at least an .850 save percentage in each of his playoff starts or games where he played a sizable amount. His first game against LA, he came in and allowed 1 goal on 2 shots. But yeah, he has posted an .850 in every single game. Stuart Skinner has an .850 or below in 7 out of his 14 games. So going into Game 5, again, even though I think the last game, it was not on Stuart Skinner, I think if you're Chris Knoblauch and the Edmonton Oilers, you look at it. If Calvin Pickard can give us .875 goaltending in this kind of best of 3 that it is right now, we trust our offense that, besides Game 3, has scored 13 goals in those 3 games and has averaged 33 shots in regulation. You just need Pickard to not allow 4 goals, 4 or more. With Stuart Skinner, big time volatility. He's either amazing, shuts out his opponent, or is absolute shit. Versus Pickard, you might not have those highs of highs, but in a best of 3, you can kind of bet on Calvin Pickard at least having 2 solid, winnable performances for the Edmonton Oilers. And at the end of the day, as long as their big guys show up and Pickard doesn't make dumb mistakes, I think it does make sense to roll with Calvin Pickard. And again, although he was very good against the Vegas Golden Knights in the LA Kings, was Calvin Pickard. So I think you continue to roll with him. Next up, Matthew Favret says, the Oilers can stay out of the damn box. they're golden. And yeah, when I did my preview for this series, that is what I stressed the most. I think the Edmonton Oilers are a better team at 5-on-5, but the penalty kill was clicking at like 66% entering this series. Yes, they were getting Matthias Ekholm back, but the Florida power play went 1 for 2 in game 1, 1 for 4 in game 2, 3 for 11 in game 3. A bunch of those penalties came later on when Florida had basically locked it up, so even that's a little bit misleading in terms of them being able to kill those 8. And then in game 4, went 2 for 4. Good for 7 goals on 21 opportunities. That is absolute shite. That is so bad. And yes, maybe you can say that the refs have called some soft ticky-tack penalties when looking at the one, what was it, Evander Kane on Gustav Forsling cross-check. There has been some soft ones, but at the end of the day, when you're the Edmonton Oilers and you had only the 17th best penalty kill in the regular season, and your penalty kill has been struggling so much in these playoffs, you can't even let the refs have the opportunity to call a penalty that, yes, maybe another series would not have gotten called. You can't be putting yourself in that situation, especially with the way that Florida's power play has been clicking. So I think if Edmonton does not allow Florida to have more than 3 power play opportunities in the next 3 games per game, not total, obviously, but per game, I'd hammer them to win this series. But if it gets out of hand, if Florida gets in their head and Edmonton takes some dumb penalties, Florida has consistently made them pay in this series, and that is such a huge thing heading into these final 3 games or final 2 games, potentially, if someone wins both of the games. Next up, Miami Heat's 89. Oilers' depth are slowing them down lots. And if Hyman was playing, the Oilers would be up 3-1, I assume that you're saying. And yeah, for the Edmonton, are you criticizing the Edmonton Oilers' depth? In the first 3 games, the Edmonton Oilers' depth did not really show up. When looking at them in the first 3 rounds, they outscored opponents 21-10. I'm getting these stats from Jay Fresh on Twitter, but we're tied in shots 175 to 175. So although that their depth was really showing up in those first 3 rounds, it was a little bit lucky to a degree. They were not completely dominating, and in those first 3 games, especially when you look at a Florida Panthers third line, their depth was far outperforming. Granted, in that game 4, they did get some contributions from that bottom 6 when looking at somebody like Podkolzin from their depth, as well as Wallman, as well as Nurse scoring goals. So yeah, when looking at the Edmonton Oilers, they are a little bit of a shallower team. Granted, they have been able to hold their own in this series, but if they want to win, they're going to have to get some greasy goals from guys like Podkolzin, Kasperi Kapanen, Adam Henrique. They want to win this series because we know Florida's depth is going to show up in a big way going forward. Next up, T. Bukov, 19, Podkolzin, legacy game. And yeah, dude, Podkolzin, the fact that they got him only for a 4th-round pick, and don't get me wrong, he's not even close to living up to his 10th overall draft selection, but he has been the perfect bottom 6, more so defensive guy. His defensive numbers in the regular season were awesome. So damn good. He was a great pickup, very cost-effective, and I think they're going to badly need him in the next couple of games. Next up, Sebastian Gertz says, never seen such a slugfest on the ice with these 2 heavyweights. And yeah, Tim K over on TikTok, go follow him. He's amazing. The 90 takes of summer. I love his content. Good friend. He described it as a slugfest as well, man. It seems like you think in that first period, oh, Florida's going to take care of them. Then a right hand comes in from the Edmonton Oilers to tie it up. There's been so many lopsided periods where you think, oh my God, this series has just completely shifted. But then the team immediately responds right after. It is truly a slugfest between these 2 heavyweight teams. And I think, as Tim K said in his video, we're genuinely going to be telling our kids about this series in like 20, 30 years from now, because it just has been that special, and it is going to go down in NHL history as one of the greatest rivalries of all time. It wouldn't surprise me if you would you say it's a 40% chance in the next 3 years that these teams are going to yet again meet up for a potential trilogy? And I would not say no at this point. These teams could play for the next 4 to 5 years, and I wouldn't give much of a shit. Next up, Shane 07. Barkov has just been invisible. And when looking at Barkov, yeah, it's a little bit concerning how he's been playing. He only has 2 assists in 4 games, and those 2 assists did come in game 4. Granted, they were he won the faceoff, and then Matthew Tkachuk kind of did all the work. And then on the other Tkachuk goal, that was more so Tkachuk and Reinhart. Barkov just passed it down to Tkachuk, then Tkachuk to Reinhart, then Tkachuk got the rebound. Barkov has simply not been good enough, and especially in that game 4, his line got outshot. His line of him, Verhaeghe, and Reinhart got outshot 21-10. In the expected goals, were not much better at 22%. Last year, he had 5 points in 7 games, which wasn't amazing, but you could directly say that he kind of slowed down McDavid in the games that the Florida Panthers won, as well as the fact that Draisaitl only had 3 assists in 7 games. Draisaitl was playing pretty hurt, though. But yeah, Alexander Barkov, if people are going to scream that he's the most underrated player of all time, that he's a top 7 player in the NHL, there's got to be criticism when he does not rise to the occasion, especially offensively right now that he is. I'm not expecting him to match Draisaitl, McDavid, bar for bar in terms of offense, but you have 0 even strength points in 4 games. Your underlying numbers aren't even that good. You're not even suppressing these guys. Both of the Edmonton superstars, McDry, are playing fantastic. You got to lock the hell in Alexander Barkov. It's simply not good enough. He needs to be much, much better. And on the flip side of that, Bobby Vank 3 says, McDavid, by his standards, hasn't been great. And yeah, 6 points in 4 games. You think, okay, that's solid. But it is 0 goals, and he is a -2 right now. And when looking at in Game 4, he only had a 45% expected goals percentage and 55% in Game 3. He's been very passive in terms of shooting the puck. It's really been pissing me off, especially on the power play. It's so obvious that he's trying to pass to either Bouchard or Draisaitl. You're screaming at your TV. I think he had a good look, actually, in Game 4, and he finally shot it and wrung it off the post. But Connor McDavid, the guy that scored 64 goals in a season, needs to be more of a shooting threat for his team. He's still playing amazing, don't get me wrong. Still, in my opinion, has been the most consistent player in this series in terms of generating offense, generating chances. But some of the times you just got to put it in the goddamn net. You got to do it yourself. You can't rely on some of the guys unless it's Draisaitl or Bouchard. Fucking shoot the puck if you're Connor McDavid. You gotta get some goals in this series. And just in general, the last 2 years, his goal scoring numbers, not saying I expect him to be a consistent 60 pace goal scorer, but last year only had 33 goals, only had 8 goals total in the playoffs. This year only has 6 goals in the playoffs after only having like 26 goals in the regular season. I don't know what happened to him. Still an amazing player, still the best player in the world. But in terms of his goal scoring, he's playing far too passive in that regard. Next, Kane and Mata says, at this rate, Dry wins the Conn Smythe no matter what. And again, I think McDavid has been the more consistent player night in and night out, shift by shift. You talk about not shooting the puck. The Draisaitl play when he tried to dump it off to Connor Brown, who wasn't even expecting it because Draisaitl was like in all alone and he threw it back. He decided not to shoot it. And even on the game winner, that was like a pass to Ferry. But yeah, I think Draisaitl, considering the fact in these Stanley Cup finals, he has 2 overtime winners, and in the overall playoffs, 11 goals, 21 assists, 32 points. Compared to McDavid, again, I think he's been more consistent, but not massive goal totals, only 6 goals in 20 games. And when it comes to those clutch gene, it's clearly been Draisaitl that has had it more so. I would have Draisaitl as my pick right now in terms of the Conn Smythe. Are you saying no matter what? Let me just look at this. You're saying if Florida wins, has he been that good? No, in my opinion, compared to McDavid last year to win it, even if the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup. He's making a case for it right now. Like if he has another OT winner or something like that, and in these next 3 games, he has 6 or 7 points and no Florida Panther really rises to the occasion, then maybe I could see it. But I think he's the Oilers pick right now. And if Florida won, I probably would still give it to like Sam Bennett, most likely, just because he's been a goal scoring monster. Hose a bear says Bob needs to step it up. He's been asked. I disagree with you a decent amount on this. He has a 9-13 in these cup finals, and he has been absolutely pelted with shots in game 1. Obviously, went to overtime. 46 shots that he saw. So although he allowed a decent amount of goals, had a .65 positive goal save to have expected. In game 2, allowed 4 goals on 46 shots, again, in double overtime, and had a positive goal save to have expected at 1.37. In game 4, he did allow 5 goals on 34 shots and had an .857 save percentage, but still, again, they allowed a decent amount of high danger chances, so he only had -4.7 goals saved above expected. He's definitely had some stinkers, don't get me wrong, but for every stinker, he had that amazing pad save, toe save in that game 4. Like, he's made up for it, in my opinion, even though he's had those stinkers. I think he's been good enough. Definitely good enough for the Florida Panthers to win the series. Again, Florida's blown leads. Do not blame Bobrovsky for this. This is more so on the Florida Skaters. They were up in game 1. They were up in game 4. They need to be better in terms of not playing so passive and not just so lackadaisical, especially in that game 4. It looked like that they just kind of coasted, especially in that second period. But Bobrovsky has been consistently good throughout this series. Again, he has not had a single stinker in this game, even though he allowed 5 goals. Edmonton has been generating a decent amount of chances. So Bobrovsky, if Florida loses this series, unless, again, he shits the bed in their 2 losses, he's probably like 8th or 9th on my list for the reasons why Florida is potentially loses this series. It's definitely more so on Barkov and some other guys. Next up from Will Chamago, Jeff Skinner should not come out of the lineup. And I 1000% agree with you. He was so damn good in game 4, playing with Henrique and playing with Frederick. Frederick, who had really struggled, probably had his best game of the Stanley Cup Finals, maybe of the entire playoffs. And Skinner was a decent amount of reason why, considering the speed that he brings to this Edmonton Oilers roster. He might be their 4th or 5th best pure goal scorer at this point, especially after losing Zach Hyman. When he was on the ice, they had an 83% expected goals percentage. They outshot the Florida Panthers 7-5. So yeah, Jeff Skinner is not some next level difference maker in this series, but Edmonton, who's probably going to need a goal late in games, in these games 5 through 7, Jeff Skinner is an absolute dog. The defensive lapses, the defensive game is not quite there for Skinner, but this is going to be a game of inches and a game of goal scoring. It's going to be a high scoring affair based on what we've seen, and I want Jeff Skinner in the goddamn lineup. Next up, Joey Mini 18 says, if the Panthers can shut down McDry, they win. And yeah, when looking at this, the Edmonton Oilers have only had 3 5-on-5 goals when Draisaitl or McDavid were not on the ice in this series. 3 total. So Barkov, Bennett, you got to step the hell up and lock these guys down. Forsling, Ekblad, Jones. And again, Jeff Skinner could play fantastic. Their depth could really step up, but it is not really in this series when those two guys are driving play and are on the ice. So for the Florida Panthers, you got to lock down McDry. For the Edmonton Oilers, stop taking the dumbest penalties of all time, unforced penalties, and going to the penalty kill. And that is the keys for these two teams going forward. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? I picked the Edmonton Oilers in 7 games before the series. I'm obviously going to stick with that now that they have the best of 3 and they have the home ice advantage. I'd probably say, I funny enough think Florida's going to win game 5 and then Edmonton's going to win game 6 and then Edmonton's going to win game 7. Like, I could definitely see somehow Florida blows them out in game 5. That'd be hilarious. But I think this is probably going to go 7. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this series? I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.